What can we learn when we reflect on the suffering of Tony Bennett and Rita Hayworth as they suffered decline from Alzheimer's? How was Tony Bennett able to perform and Rita Hayworth to act long after they had developed the symptoms of Alzheimer's? Tony Bennett collaborated with Lady Gaga, cutting several albums and touring when he was suffering from Alzheimer's, and they were very close. Rita Hayworth, sadly, was not diagnosed with Alzheimer's until long after she showed symptoms. Her odd behavior and inability to memorize her lines was blamed on her drinking rather than on Alzheimer's. Please, we welcome interesting questions in the comments. Let us learn and reflect together. At the end of our talk, we'll discuss the sources we used for this video. Rotary has historically supported the Alzheimer's Association and funded research for Alzheimer's and dementia, both locally and nationally. These reflections are based on my personal experience and research. My sources are cited, but these views are not endorsed by the Rotary or the Alzheimer's Association. If you have any questions about Alzheimer's or dementia, their 24/7 hotline is 800-272-3900. If you wish to visit our South Florida Rotary Club, please refer to the YouTube description for more information. The stories of Tony Bennett and Rita Hayworth are similar to the story of another celebrity who suffered from Alzheimer's, Glen Campbell. Both Tony Bennett and Glen Campbell released albums and toured when they were in the early stages of Alzheimer's, as music is often beneficial to Alzheimer's patients. Their doctors encouraged them to tour, and these mental challenges may have slowed the progression of their Alzheimer's. Like many celebrities, all of them had substance abuse problems in their careers. To clarify, there are many types of dementia, but Alzheimer's patients comprise over 70% of dementia cases. How many people suffer from dementia? About 7% of the elderly over 60 will suffer from dementia in their lifetimes. Tony Bennett passed away recently in July 2023, after battling Alzheimer's for many years. His last collaboration was singing jazz songs with Lady Gaga, releasing a duet album together and performing together in the Cheek to Cheek tour in 2015. He performed a final concert with her in August 2021 when he was 94 years old. Tony Bennett began his singing career after serving in World War II. He was successful through the 60s when musical tastes changed. The studios wanted him to sing contemporary rock songs without success. He struggled financially, fell behind in his income taxes, and developed a drug problem. But in 1979, his son Danny, whose band wasn't successful, agreed to become his business partner and manager. They toured the college circuit singing from his old material, the Great American Songbook. And Tony performed duets with many newer singers, including John Mayer, Katie Lang, James Taylor, Sting, the late Amy Winehouse, and also Lady Gaga. And was booked on many late-night talk shows and venues. His second career took off. In 2014, Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett recorded Cheek to Cheek, which included many jazz songs, which hit #1 in Billboard's Top 200 pop and rock chart, which led to more collaboration. Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett live a block apart in apartments near Central Park. She enjoys singing duets with Tony. Her film and recording career were packed, so they recorded songs between 2018 and early 2020 for a new album. Tony Bennett only had significant cognitive issues when he was in his 80s. After he confided to Susan, his wife, that he could not remember the names of his bandmates, they consulted a doctor who diagnosed him with Alzheimer's in 2017. Fortunately, up through 2021, his family was spared the disorientation that can prompt patients to wander from home, as well as the episodes of terror, rage, or depression that can accompany Alzheimer's frightening detachment from reality. Now, to that we don't know, as his family has kept him sequestered in the advanced stages of his condition. Like Glen Campbell, after receiving the diagnosis, Tony Bennett insisted on continuing to perform, with his doctor's blessing. Tony has always had a very positive attitude, Susan said. When he found out about the disease, he immediately said he wanted to keep singing. He was going to keep going straight ahead as he always has. In February 2021, Bennett publicly shared that he was living with Alzheimer's in an interview with the AARP magazine. Shortly after the news was announced, Bennett, a charismatic optimist, tweeted, "Life is a gift, even with Alzheimer's." Tony was already showing clear signs of the disease, Susan said, when he and Lady Gaga started recording the new LP at New York's Electric Lady Studios 2 years after his diagnosis. Indeed, Susan was not entirely sure that Tony was up to the task. "We'll try," she recalled telling Danny. "That's all I can tell you. We'll try." Tony was a considerably more muted presence during the recording of the new album with Lady Gaga. In raw documentary footage of the sessions, he speaks rarely, and when he does, his words are halting. At times, he seems lost and bewildered. Lady Gaga, clearly aware of his condition, keeps her utterances short and simple, as is recommended by experts in the disease when talking to Alzheimer's patients. "You sound so good, Tony," she tells him at one point. "Thanks," is his one-word response. Lady Gaga said that she thinks all the time about their 2015 tour. Tony looks at her wordlessly. "Wasn't that fun every night?" she prompts him. "Yeah," he says, uncertainly. The pain and sadness in Lady Gaga's face is clear at such moments, but never more so than in an extraordinarily moving sequence in which Tony, the man she calls an incredible mentor and friend and father figure, sings a solo passage of a love song. Lady Gaga looks on from behind her mic, her smile breaking into a quiver, her eyes brimming, before she puts her hands over her face and sobs. In August, Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga teamed up for 2 sold-out shows at Radio City Music Hall in New York City in celebration of his 95th birthday. The duo didn't stop there. In October, they released what is billed as Tony Bennett's final studio album, Love for Sale. There are many YouTube videos with snippets of his last performance. One touching video shows how Lady Gaga was overwhelmed on stage when he called her out by name. "The fact that Tony saw me as a natural-born jazz singer is still something I haven't gotten over," Lady Gaga recently said. And Rita Hayworth was the first celebrity who publicly confessed that she was suffering from Alzheimer's. And like many actors and singers, she also had problems with alcohol and drugs during her long career. Like Glen Campbell and Tony Bennett, she was able to act professionally at a high level well after the onset of her undiagnosed Alzheimer's condition. At the end of her career, she had trouble remembering her lines, which was blamed on her alcoholism, but was rather due to her dementia. Rita Hayworth's career spanned more than 4 decades, starting in the 30s. She was called the Love Goddess, the pinup girl for many World War II GIs, and she was one of the top stars in the golden years of Hollywood. She acted in dozens of movies and danced with Fred Astaire. Rita Hayworth was unlucky in love. She had 5 husbands, and divorced her 5th husband in 1961, long before she was suffering from Alzheimer's. She started showing cognitive decline when she was in her late 50s, much sooner than is typical. She was only 68 when she passed away. The youngest of Hayworth's 2 children, Yasmin Aga Khan, was only in high school when her mom began exhibiting odd behavior. And she was the daughter of Rita and her 3rd husband, Prince Ali Aga Khan, a French and Pakistani diplomat. And Yasmin remembers, "I would have phone conversations with her once a week while at boarding school, and she started asking me the same questions and seemed very confused. I became very concerned, but really had no control or idea what to do." Yasmin graduated from college in 1973 and moved to New York City. In 1975, Rita Hayworth suffered a collapse in Los Angeles. Yasmin successfully filed for conservatorship of her mother and relocated her to New York. The transition was really difficult, and witnessing her behavior was such a challenge because I had no idea what was happening, Yasmin remembers. I didn't have any answers. Hayworth's diagnosis was made public almost immediately, and Yasmin used the opportunity to call for more awareness about the disease. I did an interview with Barbara Walters about my mother, and shortly after was contacted by a miracle man, Jerome Stone, Yasmin remembers. And Jerome Stone, who was a caregiver for his wife who was also living with Alzheimer's, had started a small organization for families facing the disease, the Alzheimer's Association. He asked if I wanted to join as a board member and help start an event in New York to raise awareness and funds, Yasmin recalls. "I was terrified at the time. What did I know about raising money? But he gave me the strength and always believed we could do it, and we did." And they organized the annual Hollywood Rita Hayworth Gala Ball to raise funds and raise public awareness for both Alzheimer's and the Alzheimer's Association. Reviewing our other videos on dementia, although my condominium association now actively seeks to assist those dementia patients in our community, their initial opposition illustrates how difficult it is for people to accept that those who suffer from dementia are not really responsible for their actions, nor are they responsible for their neglect in handling their financial affairs. We also reflect on how the police departments around the country are trying to deal with mental illness, although they should receive more training on how to deal with dementia patients. We have a video that examines the challenges caretakers face when they care for their loved ones who suffer from dementia. Plus, we play videos on the book The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat, Learning to Speak Alzheimer's, plus a video exploring what we know about dementia. And now we'll discuss the sources we used for this video. We read the last portions of this biography of Rita Hayworth. About 30 of 300 pages discuss her struggles with Alzheimer's. And these are mostly sad stories of sad incidents in her 50s and 60s, where she was drinking to cope with her Alzheimer's. In turn, her behavior and memory problems was blamed by everyone on her drinking. And the author is a fan, and this book is written mostly from public sources and includes extensive footnotes and bibliography. But he did not include any interviews with her daughter and caretaker Yasmin. Maybe she didn't grant them. And you would enjoy this book only if you're a Rita Hayworth fan. As we discussed before, another primary source was the magazine articles and website from the AARP and the Alzheimer's Association.